When we look at this, it guarantees our understanding of what ghosts are all about. I promise you it does. We've been decorating our kitchen, and we've been doing this because we wanted to make it look better, as you do. But while we were in the process of doing it, the process rang a few bells with me and made me think somehow of ghosts. I need to explain this, but I think you'll find it rather interesting to take on board. I realised that there are certain steps that we take towards ghosthood, we might say, and that really I think there are far too many people with far too many problems today because of a mixed up huge inner world that's going on for them, and because of the things they have to take on board today. We all know this. We've got a lot of stresses and strains, personal stresses and strains, work stresses and strains, family stresses and strains, and world stresses and strains. And we all know, I'm sure, what all of those things are about. But I narrowed it down to 5 steps or stages to becoming a ghost. So if you fancy becoming one, maybe this will be useful. No, it's no laughing matter, I know, but I think it's useful to be able to understand more of how ghosts are made. So let's get cracking then with this. Number 1, trauma. We need quite a bit of trauma to become a ghost. We need to have had an experience that really turns us upside down and inside out, and we really don't know what to do with ourselves, and that is the first requirement. All ghosts are traumatized by some terrible experience that they've been through. Number 2, suffering with that trauma. Many people who have heavy trauma tend to close in on themselves, and they believe that their trauma is worse than anyone else's, and certainly that is the case for many ghosts who are around. The trauma is heavy. It's worse, far worse than anyone could imagine, and of course that to a degree is true. So that's number 2. Number 3 is learning to live with that trauma. So we're suffering with it, but we're sort of learning to live with that suffering. We arrange things around it. We make preparations so that the trauma and the suffering is included. And now that sounds a bit strange to say, but we sort of transform the suffering into something that can fit into everything. In other words, we don't want to look at it. And we call this more of a Marava situation, which is the opposite to Parava, which is changing. So we are accommodating everything in our lives to serve our trauma. Now we get to number 4, which is rejecting help for our trauma. A lot of people who have trauma, they are so afraid of what can happen if they look at it, if they address it, if they try to change it, if they try to get help for it. So we're looking at the fact that trauma is something we cannot cure, we cannot solve it, we cannot help it, we cannot relieve ourselves of it. Sharing trauma, sharing your problems, sharing your woes is all about a process of healing. And if you don't even get to the stage where you can receive some help for what you're suffering, then you're really closing in again on yourself. You're keeping it all to yourself. Some people don't believe that there could be anyone who could help them with their trauma and their problems. So that's a point to remember on the journey towards ghosthood. So the rejection is key to the next stage, which is number 5. Number 5 fits into two categories, A and B. What trauma? What do you mean, trauma? What do you mean, all the things that I've got going on for me that I'm not looking at, that I'm denying? Everything's okay now, isn't it? Smiley face. Now this takes us into a really dodgy and dangerous area. If we're not looking at what is troubling us, if we're not accommodating for ourselves what is troubling us, then we've really got to look in the mirror and see how we can solve our problems. One of the major features of heavy trauma and your route into ghosthood, if you like, is the fact that you almost cheapen your own trauma. You cheapen your own troubles, your own worries. You say, oh, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as all that. I was nearly strangled, or I came a cropper somewhere, or I was in a bad relationship for 25 years. But, it's all right. It's all right. And it isn't all right. And we don't know how much happier we could feel, how much more contented, how much more we could get on with our lives if we acknowledged that we have some inner turmoils going on. And we get quite a lot of denial coming in, and then that can lead to dissociation, and it certainly won't lead to parava. Instead, it leads us to becoming a shadow of ourselves. We are nothing like we could have been had we started to look at that trauma and all that turmoil and those troubles. So we come to 5B. We may be locked in trauma, entangled within it, especially if we can't seem to move out of it. It's really, really painful for us to be in it, and we hold on to that literally forevermore. So how does this food waste container actually relate to all that I'm saying here? In its original place, it wasn't very convenient, but strangely, once we'd moved it, we kept going back to it over and over again, back to that same place, because it had lived there for years. Trauma can be the same way. It lives within us for years and years, and we don't know how to turn away from it. And we keep going back to it, year after year after year. We simply don't know how to adjust to anything else. So when I kept returning to the waste container in its earlier place, I started to think, this is like returning to trauma, because it's programmed within you to return to the same thing over and over again. We just have to reprogram ourselves to be able to move away from this habitual cycle. Such turns us into a shadow. So we effectively become a ghost of ourselves. And we become a ghost here, not just in the other world, we become a ghost here. Now, when we become a ghost here, if we don't sort it out and we happen to pop our clogs, we're going to become a ghost there. See? That's how it happens. But what does that refuse container have to do with all of this? Well, it has to do with all of this because when we were decorating, we moved it. We moved it from one place where we used to have it for years and years and years to another place. And then we started decorating, and then we thought, it's far more sensible, far more easy to have it there, because when we're cutting things up when we're cooking, we can just put it straight in. Simple. But we don't always see that simplicity, do we? So I started to think of that. I started to think that our food waste container had been through a Jalparava situation and had transformed itself. And apart from that, it made me think that when we have trauma, we are actually keeping it in the same place. We don't want to move it. We don't want to move it about inside ourselves and look at it in a different way. We don't want to be objective. We don't want to come out about it and look back at ourselves and say, you're suffering. You have a few problems. Let's try and sort something out so that we can make life a bit easier for you. That's what you need to say to yourself. So, if we're looking at something where it always is and we're not thinking about moving it to somewhere else, then we've got a strange situation. In ourselves, we must move what we are suffering with to another place so that we can start looking at it objectively and seeing it in a different light. And that's why that little container gave me this idea. It made me think that when you become a ghost, whether you're a ghost here in this world or whether you're a ghost in the other world, heaven forbid if you become one there, because that's a bit more difficult to shake off. We are not moving away from the thing we keep holding on to. We're not trying to see it in a different light. If somebody comes along to help us, they're saying, let's look at this a little differently. Maybe you could change your attitude. You're not going to get rid of it overnight. Nobody does. No one's ever going to be accurate when they say that. Nobody gets rid of trauma overnight. Nobody solves it overnight. But we can develop a way of looking at it a little more closely and gradually easing ourselves away from it, seeing ourselves as if we were another person that was happening to. And then we want to help that person. We want to help ourselves. So that's how it works. That's how that little container turned this into this. It made me think that, wait a minute, I've got a clue here as to how we make a ghost. Have a think about that. And when we talk about ghosts in houses, haunted houses, and we say, well, what about that? Well, it's the same thing. Trauma keeps them there. Really, the haunted house becomes like the food container because it's the same place. It doesn't shift. So the person haunting sees the house as it was because they're seeing the food container in the place it used to be. If you think about this, you'll get what I mean. It's about location, the location of the trauma, together with the location of where the trauma occurred. The ghostly person remains there for the foreseeable future, or perhaps even forever. So when we moved the little container, we kept going back to it where it was, and I thought, this is just like the way people go back and back and back to their trauma and keep going back and don't attempt to change it or see it in another position, in another location. So have a think about that, because you may come to some more conclusions of your own. Thanks for listening.